Hey, we've got our Manlift rewire completed now. We'll run over what we did. We have the upper control station completed and the lower station and the high amperage part of it. Let's go over to the lower station. We want to get into this compartment right here, and you see it's too low, so we'll use the lower station to raise the arm up. So here's our lower station with the new box, and we'll show you the inside of that relatively soon. Let's go back to, we want to be, what, elevator up, I think it is. Is that right? Nope, not elevator up. We want to be reach up. Okay, there we are, reach up. You know, that's not going to work either. We want to be elevator up as well. Okay, so let's try that a different way. Yes, that's better. Shop is pretty small here for this type of thing. Okay, you can get a better view of that. Okay, so we've got it as high as we can go. The forklift is in the way there. Okay, so we're going to go over the where the motors are, high amperage area. There we go. So you can see that. All right. Okay, let's take this cover off. Okay, see what's happening here. All right. Okay, so we have all of the hydraulic solenoids rewired with in a loom. We have the multi-conductor cable going to the lower control box. Everything is on terminal blocks to make it easier to test. This is all common negatives down here. We have the emergency fuse for the emergency functions, the main fuse for the main 24 volt functions, the high amperage fuses for the drive motor, and for the boom functions motor. And these two down here are the high amperage relays. You see that? And those relays turn the motors. Oh, that's very, yeah. You can see the side of that. The copper. I made that these copper strips on the. See that? I made these copper strips. Actually, they're brass strips on the water jet, just to make it neater, because it's just a lot nicer to have a brass strip than it is to have a chunk of wire going across there. And all the high amperage wires, high current wires are all nicely heat shrinked and crimped on. So all these cables are all new. So that's a number 4 wire on the 2 electric motors. Our main switch, let's bring that back out. Our main switch, that's just a marine battery switch. Right now I've only got it set up on number 1 bank. Number 1 bank is on this side and number 2 bank is on the other side. Number 2 bank, I don't have any batteries in that side at the moment. There's only the six batteries on this side for the 36 volt system. And of course the white wire here, it comes off for the 24 volt functions, which go through to the main here. All the wires maintain the color code from the manual, so again it makes it easy to trace what's happening with all the different colors, all match up to what it was in the manual. Under here is something interesting right here. You can see where the boom comes down, it rests on this, and in the past you can see where I put heat shrink over top of the multi-conductor cables because they got crushed in between the bolts, and that caused shorts in the system. So that's all been repaired, and then I put the heat shrink, heavy-duty heat shrink, over top of the conductors just to add that bit of protection to everything. Also, all of these hydraulic lines all through here, they've all been taken out, and because they were all twisted up and they weren't lying properly, so I untwisted everything to make them nice and neat all the way through. Okay, oh, also down the bottom here we have all the common negatives for the high amperage stuff. What else? I discussed the fitting here to hold the wires to stop them from chafing back and forth, and to stop them from being flopping around through these grommets here. So that all works out pretty darn good. Again, important labels on everything, so we understand what's going on. In the future, if you ever want to do some troubleshooting, for example, there's a label here that says cable number 4, multi-conductor cable number 4, and that's the same as what it says in the manual. Over here, for example, we have the labels for the fuses and what the fuses value are, what the fuses do, and what the value are. All of the solenoids are all labeled as to their function. For example, that's forward function, series for series parallel of the hydraulic system, for example. So again, everything being labeled. Oh my gosh, look at the hydraulic leak we have here. Okay, so I have to address that cylinder. That joint right up there, that cylinder gland up there, is leaking. So that's a bit of hydraulic oil happening. Okay, so we'll take the cover off the lower control. Let's drag it out. Can I make it bigger? No, sorry, make it smaller. As far as it goes. Okay, let's drag this out. And we'll connect give me a moment. Connect the battery to the camera, because my battery is going to go dead here in a moment. Okay. Okay, let's take this cover off. Alright, interesting things to note here on the hydraulic. This is a hydraulic manifold for all the boom functions, and again labels on everything. I bought the hydraulic pressure gauge, 4000 psi pressure gauge, off the test port to test all the functions in the boom functions. And to test the bypass relief valves. That's one of the relief valves, for example. Another one here, another one over there for the different functions. And they all appear to be good. I don't see a problem with any of those. However, we're going to go over the drive manifold and change that gauge over to it, and then check the relief valve settings on all of those. I suspect the drive one is passing at a lower pressure, so we're going to adjust that if necessary. Okay, what I'm going to do is next we'll take off the, move this around so you can see a little better. We're going to take off these bolts and open it up so you can see what it looks like inside. Over the last video we went over manufacturing this box, and again I'm very happy with that box. It turned out very, very nice. Okay, this lower control is very simple. There's no gauges or anything on it. We have it labeled, and we have the emergency stop. I make it very, very simple. All right. So again, it's very simple here. We just got the wiring in the loom and just the basic switches, and then everything goes to the relays below that. So as you see here in the box, it's very difficult to get access in the box to get at things. So that's why we made this, so this piece comes off. So that's what we're going to do next. And let's turn our switch off. And we'll put that up here somewhere for now. Okay, so now everything becomes very easy to access. Okay, so everything is, we're on relays now rather than the diodes and so on that was interlocks and so on that was all there before. So we've deleted all that stuff and made it all relatively straightforward. Over here we have the common negatives, and on the other side here we have all the common positives. So all of the relays these are all 4-pole relays, and so there's 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, oh, 15 relays. And there are 4 functions on each relay, so that's 48 connections. But you see how that brass strip, I made that brass strip on the water jet, so it made all of those positives all common, so that saved a whole heck of a lot of wires. Yeah. Okay, and again, everything labeled. For example, that set of wires there, that's the emergency stop button. For example, over here we have the boom functions, FC, flow control. This wire here, for example, they're labeled 24 volts to the platform. That's the main 24 volts coming in, for example. Here we have the boom bypass switch. So all of this stuff is all nicely labeled. So if there's a problem with anything, makes it much easier to source what the solution is going to be. These wires are the spares, so lots of spare wires. I just put that in a loom and stuck a clamp on it. Okay, so again, everything, it's not quite as neat a wiring as I was hoping. But again, there's so many wires in there that it started out quite neat and tidy. For example, over here, it was easy to make it neat and tidy. But then over here, things got out of hand quickly. You know, I'm trying to group things together. Like, for example, these are the slewing left-right functions. Here, for example, we have, those are the emergency stop functions as well. So that's looped together, for example. You know, over here we have the flow control functions, again looped together. We try and group things together as much as possible, and that makes things easier to trace through. That one, for example, is the steering left-right. That one, for example, we're going to the reach functions and so on here. So I'm quite happy with how that all turned out, and I don't know, in my mind it makes it much easier to find problems in the future. You know, 10 years from now, of course, I'll have forgotten how all of this works. So it makes it much easier, I think, quite logical to figure out what the problem was. The nice thing about these relays as well is that there's a light emitting diode on the relay to indicate which one is functioning. For example, what do we got here? Elevator function for, we're going to turn it on. On the elevator function, for example, right, see the elevator up, the boom flow control, and the 24 volt power. So all of those parts are energized. So here we go, flow and elevator up and so on. So we know that relay, and that relay are all functional. So if the light isn't on, we can trace it back and find out what the problem, whether it's a broken off wire, broken switch, whatever type of thing. So I like those. I like those relays. That makes it again much easier to see which relay is active. Oh, all the relays all unplug. So again, it makes it easy to replace a defective relay. Okay, happy with that. Okay, I'm going to put it all back together, and then we'll go over the functions for the top. Okay, next we'll go over the upper control box. Now remember, this control box here was rusted out on the bottom, so actually that control box came from the bottom, came from the lower, and I just sandblasted that and painted it. I didn't have to make a new one for that. These here are the emergency functions that come off the emergency fuse there. So if something happens to the main system, these will allow you to get down. By activating these switches, it'll allow you to lower yourself, not raise yourself. It'll help you to get you to lower yourself, even if the main system fails. That's the backup half of it. And the foot switch, again, I just sandblasted that. There's nothing wrong with it. It just was terrible corroded, so I just sandblasted it and painted that. There's a new control box, sorry, new electrical box there for the plugins as well for the 120 volt system if you want to run a drill while you're in the basket here. Okay, we're going to go over the upper control. Oops, camera keeps falling here. What do we do about this? I can't see the lens here to see if it's... There it is. Okay, it's set up there. Okay, we're going to go over the upper control box. I'll take the bolts out of here. Oh, I guess we should go over what it all says here. All the functions are all the arrows on them, as well as the labels. Here are the emergency stop, a horn. We have the voltage for the 24 volt system and the 36 volt system. This is the switch for series or parallel with the drive motors. That's just indicating which station is selected. We have swing left right, forward and back, and the steering platform of this switch is a bypass for the foot switch. Foot switch is down here. You can't see it, and I can't move the camera at the moment. If you're positioned such you can't reach the foot switch, and also there's a switch on the boom, and the camera's moving again. We can activate this switch, and it bypasses the foot switch, and it bypasses the safety cutout for the travel as well. So of course you'd want that, that's why it's on a red light as well, indicating like beware. So we'll keep that off, unless of course you want to bypass the foot switch. That wasn't original. It's something I put on myself because I know it's something that I will not use. We have the speed control for the drive and for the boom to make the drive go faster or slower. And these switches I really didn't need. I put them on, but I realized later that I didn't need them, but I already had the hole in the panel, so I didn't want to just leave holes in. I didn't want to make a new panel, so I just left those. But these switches just switch the pulse width modified controllers on or off. And the camera keeps moving. This is really difficult to get the camera positioned here. And it's really hard to see the back of the camera. Okay, I think we're in frame there, but I'm not absolutely sure. Okay, we'll take these bolts out. You can see inside. And these bolts are the same hex socket as the other panel. such that everything stays. I better turn that off so I don't short something out. Okay, all right, is the camera still on? All right. Okay, so I'll show you a little bit better here. Okay, so the inside of the box, we've made that nice and neat and such that there's not wires all over the place. Again, everything is loomed out. This is a loom for the bypass emergency controls over here, and then cable 1 and cable 2, cable 1, cable 2, and then the grounds. So it makes it neat and tidy. Nice and clean inside the box now, all nicely painted up. This was an extra hole. We just plugged that with the disc we cut out on the water jet. Okay, so the business end. Here is the back of the control box. Okay, again, everything is color coded. Everything is labeled up, and the labels for the different functions. This is the pulse switch modified power supply for the drive. For the boom functions, I found we didn't need that. So that was on. I took it back off because it wasn't needed. But I didn't know that at the time. That's why I had made this the way it is. And we have the emergency back of the emergency stop switch, bypass switch, relay here for the bypass. That relay should have been over here, but I didn't have enough room for it, so I had to put it over here. So it's, even though the switch is over here, the relay actually is over here. So it should have been the other way around, but I ran out of space over there due to my bad planning. So tried to make things as neat and tidy as possible, but with so many wires, it's very difficult. Just lift that up a little bit so you can see the ins underneath. So there's a little platform here for the that we made on the water jet, and this is all threaded. All these bolts are all threaded. Sorry, all these screws are all threaded through. And the little elevated platform allows much more compact use, because I've got a lower layer where the switches are, and then the upper layer for the all the barrier strips. So it makes it a neat compact installation. Okay, I'm going to try and position the camera back here again. Okay, we'll try that. So I'll lift this up so you can see a little better. Okay, we'll put that back on. And we'll put the bolts back in. Okay, so for the actual functions, we put our foot on the oops, turn it on. Put our foot on the switch on, switch off for the foot switch. Series, we don't need series because we don't want it to go fast. So we can go steering left, right, we can go up or back down, for example. There you go. So all the functions all work. So we're quite happy with that. I think that much better than the previous system. Okay, so I'm going to put the rest of the screws back in, and I think that's it for today. Other parts of the wiring, you remember the wiring that was here. So again, we've redone all that with the heat shrink and so on. So that makes that wiring well secured. Should be no problem with the connections now being bad connections. New insides for the safety switch here. So the boom comes down and activates the safety switch to stop you from traveling when the boom is up. Again, there's a bypass switch on the panel for that if there's some strange need for moving when you're up. And again, we're trying to keep things labeled. So for example, that's elevator down solenoids, for example. Oops, grab the camera over here. There's another one up there, for example. I think that's a reach down. I don't remember now what it says. So again, all neat and tidy, everything well secured. We also rethreaded these covers here, so the covers aren't flopping around. There was only one bolt holding those covers on before, so we rethreaded the bolts through there. So all kinds of other stuff here that I'm forgetting to tell you about, but you get the idea. So we've tried to go over everything that's needed on the system here. Okay, this is the boom function manifold. Before I take the pressure gauge off here, we should go over what the relief valve settings are. I wasn't able to find what the settings are supposed to be, except that the main relief valve, this is for the boom functions only, should be 2200 psi. 2200 is right there. So we'll bottom out something. That's a swing function. So let's bottom out the swing function. Oh, I forgot. With a swing function, there's a automatic cutout, so that's why it didn't. If I try to swing too far, then the switch cuts out. So that one's not going to work. Let's go retract. Okay, we'll see how far the pressure gauge goes. And pressure gauge is stopping at about 2210, something like that. So that's exactly what it should be. So all of the functions on the boom are pretty well as one expects them to be. Let's go elevator down for a moment, and then we'll go elevator back up. Okay, so elevator up function, we're showing PSI of 1400, 1400 PSI for elevator up. Reach up, 1000. Let's go reach back down because I'm going to hit the ceiling. The down functions, of course, are relieving directly into the tank, so we have no pressure on those. Reach extend. Oops, no, reach retract. Okay. Yes. So that one is only showing 400.